think the G3 is a little bit too accurate now. You're good. So hello gamers and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking every new gun in Phantom Forces, so Colt MARS, M16A1, and plenty of others. You might be confused and saying, what do you mean there's only like 2 new guns? Well, that is true and not true at the same time. There's actually more like, maybe 10 new guns in the game, and today I'll be going through all of them. So make sure to watch until the end and like the video, and let's go for 1,000 likes on the video. But yeah, let's get into it. So first off, we have the Colt MARS. This is an interesting gun. It performs a little bit differently from your average PDW. It doesn't necessarily fire super quickly, but it has good recoil, not great recoil, but good recoil, and it has pretty good velocity, penetration, and damage over range. Where it gets kind of weird though is that it has really bad maximum damage. It only does 29, so 4-shot kill, which is not completely awful, but it does like less damage in close range than like an MP7 and fires significantly slower. And the recoil isn't like laser beam tier either. So what's really special about this gun? Well, honestly, not a lot. It's kind of just an overall gun. It doesn't really have any special quirks or anything to it. It fires pretty quickly, it has a fast reload, it has a good magazine capacity. Recoil is fine, but not great. It does have a pretty good headshot multi, all right ranges, good pen, good velocity. And what I guess does set it apart a little bit from an average auto is that it does have 150 reserve ammo instead of 120. As you can see from there, it does work over range a little bit better than your average PDW. It is a pretty good overall gun. It's just not super unique or special. If you want to actually pre-buy a gun, I don't really recommend this one. It's a little bit generic, but it does have a conversion, which is kind of interesting and different from the default gun. This is called the 9x30mm MARS conversion. It slightly reduces your magazine capacity, but it gives you better pen, worse velocity, and overall kind of worse ranges. But your close range damage is increased by 9, and you keep your same headshot multiplier, so you can 2-shot headshot, 3-shot body, but not very far. This will be pretty powerful. It has a fast reload, it does pretty good damage, it fires pretty quickly, and this is definitely a lot more competitive of a gun for close range, because that's where the issue is. Basically, you have the same fire rate, but you have 16 damage over range. This falls off to a 7-hit kill over longer ranges, and it doesn't fire super fast, and the recoil kind of it's not super high recoil. It's just kind of inconvenient vertical recoil. It makes it really not that great for long range engagements. It has 16 min damage. That's pretty bad. You're not going to use it for long range. But the problem is it doesn't really have that great close range performance. So I feel like this is almost a worse gun. It's not like trash, but honestly, this is an overall not super special gun. It can 2-shot headshot, 3-shot body, but not very far. 825 RPM, which is good, but not great. The recoil is not really that bad. People say it's pretty bad. It's not that bad. If you have a good setup like a full stock and stuff, it's really not anything to be super hyped about, but it's not gonna like not hit its shots at all. It's just really not that good at anything, really. So overall, this is going to be a 3 out of 5 gun. I think it's kind of weak, kind of not that interesting, and honestly not a gun I'm going to be using too much. And I kind of prefer to have default ammo, get better velocity, better min damage. It's really just not a great gun overall. But then we have an amazing and very fun new gun known as the M16A1. The default ammo on this gun does 30 to 20. However, it has great ranges and amazing velocity and an extremely high rate of fire of 950. This fires 125 more RPM than the Colt MARS, and actually the recoil is not too bad either. It's not great, and if you want an ultra controllable gun, you probably shouldn't be running this gun because it has 950 RPM. What could you expect? But for the RPM and the damage this thing puts out, it's actually really good. Like, it does 20 min damage, which is pretty good. Extremely good ranges. It has a 90 stud max damage range, so you can do 30 body to 90 studs away, 5-hit kill over all ranges. This is basically like a PDW mixed with an assault rifle. It only has 20 rounds, but the reload is super fast as well, and honestly, I really like this gun. It's not necessarily like the best gun of all time. It doesn't do great damage, but it reloads really quickly. It has good velocity. Think like 25-45 on like your average M4 variant, but it's even better because not only does it have that fast reload time, but it also shoots faster than a default M4. Keep in mind that this has 150 more RPM than the M16A3, and it also does about the same damage and has a 1.6 second reload time. The only real issue with it is that the damage isn't like amazing. It can't 3-shot kill. It does 30 down to 20, but I'm not gonna lie, like that really doesn't hold the gun back too much. You just have to hit like 1 extra shot versus, one of the more sweaty PDWs. But since the Colt SMG has been nerfed, I actually really like this gun more than your average PDW. And as you could probably tell, it's really good. I'd actually give this a 5 out of 5. I think it's probably one of my favorite assault rifles in the entire game at this point. It reloads quick, it shoots really fast. The recoil is not bad, but very interesting. Like, it has quite a bit of recoil to it. And this is with a setup that really reduces recoil by quite a bit. I just really like the gun. It's really good. I'm not saying it's the best assault rifle in the game, but I'd say it's definitely a competitor. I feel like it beats out a lot of the other assault rifles because of its reload speed and because of its rate of fire. This gun can kind of like beam in closer ranges if you're pretty good, and you can destroy people. If you really wanted to spec this only for CQC, you could run hollow point and be able to 3-shot kill to about 50 studs, which is not bad. However, it falls off extremely hard with this. I don't really recommend that. But then you have M855. Now, this is the conversion that people have been talking about as the good conversion on the gun. However, in my opinion, this is actually not that good, or at least not that fun. So first off, you have like bloom to your gun where you don't really fire exactly where you expect you will. And sure, this does give you a 30-round magazine, but you have a slower reload time and a significantly slower rate of fire. Now you basically have the M16A3. It still fires quickly, but nowhere near as fast. But of course, you have a 55 stud 3-hit kill range and a 2-shot headshot to about the same range, but not super far. It has weird recoil, and it doesn't really fire as quickly or reload as fast. And while this is probably going to be the meta conversion on the gun, in my opinion, it's just not quite as fun for me. I don't like the reload speed as much. RPM isn't as fast. It does do good damage, but it falls off harder over range, and it kind of like increases recoil by a little bit. It's not really noticeable because you have, you know, a slow rate of fire. I think this is a very well-balanced, very good gun. Fires quickly, reloads fast, but doesn't do amazing damage, and is pretty overall not going to be the most powerful gun. But if you want to have a fast reload time, fast rate of fire, and a really fun M16 variant, this is probably my favorite M16 variant at the moment. But then next up, we have a very interesting new gun known as the Groza 2. This is the 5.45 by 39mm conversion on the Groza 1. The default Groza 1 does 37 to 24, and this does 35 to 20. So you lose a little bit of damage, however, you gain a 45-round magazine with this, which is pretty cool. Basically, it's like an extended mag with less damage and a little bit less recoil. And honestly, it's not really like my favorite gun in the entire game, but it's actually really good. If you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of damage for a lot of bullets, and it kind of goes off. The reload time is kind of goofy almost because like, just put the magazine back in the gun, buddy. But it is a 3 to 5, which technically the default gun is, but the default gun can very easily 4-hit kill all ranges and can 2-shot to the head. And I think the gun is overall not a bad thing to actually use, you know? Am I going to be using it? Not really. I think it's an overall probably 4 out of 5. The only real issue with it is the fact that the default gun kinda does it better in most ways, but this lobby is completely dying, so let me find a new one. Next up, we have a new shotgun, which is known as the TOZ-123. This is now by far the beefiest shotgun in the game. It only has 45 rate of fire, but it does 45 damage per pellet, and I'm dead. This gun is a little bit goofy because of the absolutely abysmal reloading and fire rate. You get about 20% slower reloading and fire rate with this conversion, and you do lose a pellet as well, but what you gain is kind of ridiculous damage because you do 45 to the body instead of like 36. So you gain like 10 damage while only losing 1 pellet. So you're gonna have higher damage, which is nice, and it also does 19 min, which means technically you can one-shot all ranges if every pellet hits, but that doesn't really happen. Overall, if you want a very powerful, very goofy shotgun, this is going to be kinda broken, but honestly, if you kind of think about it, the default gun might be better because the default gun, you know, fires quicker and is probably going to be just as powerful. So is this really necessary? No, it's a little bit overkill in my opinion. Also because they buffed the KS23M a little bit for some reason. It has a little bit better spread now. Still pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. This gun actually feels pretty balanced. It doesn't really fire super quickly at all, and sure, it is pretty powerful, you know, but that was a 100 stud 1-tap on a guy that's not moving, and I can see his entire body. That kind of makes sense for a 4-gauge shotgun, which is literally a shotgun designed to hunt elephants, so kind of makes sense that a 4-gauge round would be that powerful. And of course, it fires slower than like your average bolt action, which is kind of ridiculous. So yeah, overall, not really going to be like that big of a problem to fight anybody using this. If they miss you, you kind of win. And it's kind of inconsistent because it has less pellets and doesn't necessarily have better pellets to kill. But of course, at range, it's going to be a lot better. But then we have the new G3. And I'm not going to talk about like the Model 700 and that stuff. It changes the name, but it doesn't change any stats. But the other stuff that is new is the fact that the G3 is now called the G3A3. And if you run wooden furniture, it becomes the G3. The G3 is basically the G3A3 with better recoil, but worse handling. Honestly, this conversion is not great simply because you basically always have to be running CQR grip on the G3 now if you want it to be accurate, and that has pretty bad handling. It doesn't have worse walk speed though, and wooden furniture plus this has pretty bad aiming speed and worse walk speed, so it's not really going to be necessarily a direct upgrade to the gun. It really depends on what you personally would prefer. I don't know exactly what I want right now with this gun, so I might be running this, I might not, I'm not 100% sure, but of course you can definitely tell the aiming is pretty awful. But then we have the G3A4 with either retracted stock or collapsible stock. This is a very good feature because collapsible stock doesn't actually change your stats really, and it's also free with the gun, but that isn't really a different gun. What is different is the retracted stock, which is also called the G3A4, because if you think about it, this is the collapsible stock that has been collapsed. This will have worse recoil but better handling, and honestly, it's not going to be too bad. You get better handling and worse recoil, but the gun is already really accurate if you're running Hera. So this will actually be something that I might run if I'm playing closer range with the G3. It kind of counteracts the Hera's bad aiming, and you also get better walk speed. So you even have better recoil than you would by default, and you also have better walk speed. So overall, a really good way to run the gun. If you want a better close range, more maneuverable gun, this is going to be the attachment to run on the gun because you want better walk speed. Overall, a really good option for the gun, and I give the new G3, honestly, probably a 5 out of 5. I think the G3 is a little bit too accurate now. You're good. This gun is actually really balanced, probably like a 3 or 4 out of 5 if you don't have the Hera CQR. If you do, then it becomes really good. By default, though, it's a pretty balanced gun. It's really good. It has good headshot damage, doesn't fire super quickly, and it's not very accurate. But now, it's accurate, so it becomes broken. It's so stupid. Enough complaining about the G3, I guess that's the state that the gun is in, but I'm really unhappy because this gun is balanced, it's just too broken with this grip, you know? And then they're gonna actually nerf the gun instead of nerfing the grip, and then the gun is gonna still be, like, annoying because it's just gonna be a different gun again. Like, oh my gosh. If you hit your heads, though, this gun is super good. What can you expect? I have 6,000 kills on the gun. I'll be making more videos on the updates, so make sure to stick around and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Have a nice day.